Hi and welcome into another video. So today we are further exploring AWS and we will be talking about one of the possible places where we can store some variables, environment variables, and some secrets for our apps or whatever we need. So let's hop into AWS console and work in SSM. Alright, so we are back into our AWS console and let's in the search bar type parameter store. So it is a part of the systems manager and it's one of the solutions to, as we mentioned in the intro, to store our variables, secrets and so on. So let's see how it looks and how it can help us. So we have a parameter list, let's say. Right now it will be empty because I don't have any parameters, but let's create ourselves a first one. So the first thing we are applying is the name. So either it can be just a name like a simple param or whatever, but we can use slashes. Slashes will be some kind of a way of a hierarchical approach, like let's say also a folder structure with prefixes in a S3 bucket. So actually, let's say we can have like a dev environment and then slash, let's say an admin app or a user app or whatever. And then let's say we can have a prod and then we can also have like admin or user or something like that. This hierarchical approach allows us for a more fine-grained access control because we can limit particular apps or particular, let's say, IAM keys or roles to access only parameters, not in a whole, let's say, parameter store, but only in a specified path. But for today, let's say we would be doing some kind of a secret variable that would be called, let's say, a test variable. And here we can always type a description, and then we are choosing a tier. So usually we are using just a standard one. We can store up to 10,000 parameters. The value of each one can be 4 kilobytes, and there is no charge for that. There is also an advanced one that we can store up to 100,000 parameters, and the value goes up. It's doubled, so 8 kilobytes, and there are some sharing between accounts, additional policies, and so on, but that's a more in-depth topic for another discussion, where we will also explore a secrets manager, which is yet another approach to storing secrets in AWS. So today let's create this test variable, and we have an option to choose a type. So string will be just a very basic plain text without any encryption value. We can have a string list, which is also a strings, unsecured, unencrypted, but using comma separated values, we can create some kind of a array from that. And SecureString, which will create in another run. This will be a SecureString parameter. So let's create this test string. We will call it this test variable and it will be of type string. And then we will use a text. We can also store here the EC2 image. Let's say you would like to store AMI for your instances. So let's do a value. Let's call it test value without encryption. As usual, we can create some tags and so on, and let's create this parameter. So we have this parameter here. We know we can go here. We can see the value. We can see who modified this value last time. If we would change the value here, there would be another version created. So actually, then we can see how many versions we have, and programmatically we can access the particular version, and as usual, some tags. So we have this parameter. Let's maybe go to the Cloud Shell. Let's wait for it to start. All right, so our Cloud Shell started, and here is just a AWS shell where it's already pre-configured to this account, and we can also see how we can access this secret programmatically from the console. So as we remember, we have this test variable parameter, and we can type in AWS CLI, so we have just a AWS CLI configured here. We will type AWS SSM get parameter, and we will do -- name of test variable. So here you can see that we are getting this parameter back. We have its value of this test value without encryption, and it corresponds to what we have here. And now let's say we would like to create yet another parameter. So we will create another parameter. We will this time create a secure string, and I will show you the difference. So let's do test variable enc, and here let's do also a standard, but right now we will take the secure string, and here we are able to choose what KMS key will be used to actually encrypt this value. So we can use our account, or we can use even a key which is shared with us from another account. But in current account, we can also choose either AWS managed key for SSM, so it will be a AWS SSM key, or we can even create our own customer managed key in KMS and use that. For today, we will use an AWS managed one, and here I will call it a test value with encryption. And let's create this parameter. And now we will see some differences. So let's go to this test variable enc, and here, as we see, it's masked by default. So we can show the encrypted value using this slider. One more thing is that to really be able to decrypt this value, you need to have access to underlying key. So if it's a default key, all of the accounts in the IAM accounts in this particular account can have access to this key. But if you would like to use a customer managed key, then you have a more fine-grained control, and you can limit some kind of a particular users or role to only access the key. And then it's also needed for the KMS decrypt option to be available for the specific account or role. So we have this value, and let's see how the same thing looks in the console. So we remember that in this Cloud Shell we have this test variable, and now we have this test variable enc. So we can actually see that right now, when we did a get parameter by name, we got this test variable enc. We got the value which is not the actual value we need, because actually right now this value is the encrypted one. So if we want to get access to this particular variable, we need to pass with decryption flag. So we will do with decryption. And here you can see that we are getting this value as it actually is. So this is the approach to the encrypted ones and how we can approach it. And one more thing which I want to mention. So we created this parameter store. We were able to use it in a console, see those data in the console. We were able to see it in the CLI. This is something that you also can pass to, let's say, CloudFormation scripts, which we will talk, templates, which we will talk about in the future to create resources using infrastructure as a code. But one great thing is also that you can use AWS SDK for your particular programming language. And let's say if you are creating an app in Python or you are creating an app in JavaScript, you are installing AWS SDK or Boto in Python, and you are able to access these variables and even decrypt them, and then use those secure string, let's say an API key, to process some kind of a request securely in your app. One more thing also is that if you would, let's say, create an EKS cluster for Kubernetes or ECS cluster to host your Docker containers, you are also able to pass those parameters from SSM or Secrets Manager in the future in a so-called task definition of a container, and then you are able to pass those variables to the container at a runtime, and they are available there also when you launch your application. So you can, let's say, do a environment variable there, some API key, as I already mentioned, DB credentials, and so on and so on. So this parameter store and in the future Secrets Manager are the things to go when you need to store your variables securely and pass them along to your applications. So that is all for today. If you would like to see more of such content, please of course subscribe to the channel and let me know down in the comments if you need videos on any particular subject. And that's all for today, and see you in another video.